Hello, everybody. Well, happy holidays. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line, presented by Offside News. My name is Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Marcie.
Hello.
We're back again. I think we're turning this into a tradition. I
Yeah.
think if
Oh my! We're making Christmas traditions together. That's so cute.
I think if anything happens more than 1 year in a row, like if anything happens twice, routinely, it's a tradition.
Mm.
Our tradition that we're doing is we are providing you with a bonus episode of the podcast where we get to talk about World Juniors. It's our World Juniors preview. This is pre-recorded, but it will be going up on Christmas Day. So if you
It's
celebrate
dead for me already.
well, pre-recorded as we record things the day before. Scheduling was hard. I ended up having to work sort of last minute, the past 3 days. And so we haven't really had the time.
Mm.
But Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. Happy holidays to you. Let's get into discussing the most
Yay.
wonderful time of the year, World Juniors,
Really?
starting on Boxing Day. It is being held in Canada this year.
Woo.
It is being held in Ottawa, and I am not in Ottawa for the World Juniors.
No, I told my mum that earlier, and she was like, "Oh, Emma's." Oh no, she's not.
I honestly was like, if my landlord allowed it, probably would have tried to like rent out my apartment to like people to stay. I could have made so much money if I could
God.
list my apartment on Airbnb. But my landlord doesn't would hate it.
Mm.
But I was genuinely like, what if I could list my apartment on Airbnb? But it is being held in Ottawa, which means I know the two arenas quite well because I was at both of said arenas very recently, actually this
Mm.
month. Um, but yeah, they're being held at the Canadian Tire Centre, home of the Ottawa Senators, as well as TD Place, home of the um, Ottawa 67s, which is the OHL team. Also as well, PWHL, Ottawa Charge. Sorry, I'm still getting used to calling them like not PWHL insert city name.
To say it was like just a year, it's
And
taking a
it's
lot
taking
of.
me too long to call them the Ottawa Charge and not just PWHL Ottawa or whatever. With like
Mm.
insert the five other teams here. It's the same with like I feel like it's gonna take me a lot to switch over to like calling like Utah and then whatever nickname they have and not just like Utah or Utah Hockey Club.
Mm.
It's one of
Yeah.
those things where it's like you don't realize, but it is your brain like latches onto something. Anyways,
Mm.
but there are two groups. As always, we will be walking through them. I will say, um, as a recap from last year's tournament, kind of going as we go through these rankings, because the seeding is done by the ranking of the previous tournament. Uh, US in Group A, we have US who won last year. Finland, Canada, Latvia, and Germany. And they are playing all of their preliminary games at the Canadian Tire Centre. And Group B, who are playing all of their preliminary games in at TD Place Arena, is Sweden, Czechia, Slovakia, Switzerland, and Kazakhstan, who was promoted to the tournament this year because, like most IIHF tournaments, there is like a promotion and demotion after after Norway was demoted last year
Mm.
for coming last
Bye
because
bye,
that's
Norway.
how it works. Which, like, yes, is a very, like, it is something that I always think about. Like, yes, I know it's extremely unlikely for one of, like, the big countries that, play in these international tournaments and in these world tournaments. But, like, what if, like, everything goes wrong for, like, say, like, Canada or the US or, like, Sweden, and they end up getting demoted?
Yeah.
That's a
That
thought that I have.
like I think if I was on like Team USA and we got demoted, I don't think I'd ever recover from that. Like that,
I feel like
we're over before it's even begun.
but yes, if you would like to watch the games because you were some of the people who were not able to secure tickets, I do like tickets sold out. I do know that tickets sold out quite fast. I didn't even attempt at getting tickets because I was like, I'm not
Mm.
staying in Ottawa for this. I will watch this from my parents' house. Um, but if you would like to then watch I believe the broadcasters are TSN and NHL Network. So it's TSN for all of Canada as it is every year. And then it is NHL Network for the US. And how do you watch it? I do have to ask. I feel like we've never discussed this.
I watch it on means that
Okay.
that's ahoy. I mean, I watch it in ways that are frowned upon. It's fine. I'm in England. That's like
Yeah, I was
punishment,
gonna
isn't
say I don't know how it.
it? If there wasn't a more ethical way to watch it, for me, I would. However, I don't know if there is. Mm.
I don't know either. It's one of those things where it's like for me, and I guess this is where I become like really like Canadian pilled about this about this tournament, where I'm like, it's always just been like on TSN. It's always something that's just so easily accessible for me to watch because my parents pay for TSN as part of their cable package, and it's just something that's always on every single year
Mm.
over the holiday break. And sometimes it's a great time, and sometimes, your
It's
team is
not.
getting knocked out of the quarterfinals. Because of a loss to Czechia after a puck bounces into the net off of Oliver Bonk. Not that I, am digging up memories there, recent
No,
memories
no.
there, but we can, of course, also as well, the tournament starts on Boxing Day as it does every year, with the first game being played at the Canadian, with the only two games with both of the games of that day being played at the Canadian Tire Center. On the U.S. takes on Germany at 2:30 Eastern, and Canada and Finland play at 7:30. Canada, I guess we'll like jump right into talking about the rosters before I then talk about Canada's schedule, because I guess I can talk about that with the rosters. But we'll start with Group A, and we'll start with the United States to get them out of the way. um, we are primarily using the lovely work that the wonderful team of writers over at Offsite has put together. I will link. I believe there's a way for me to link all of these articles at once. Um,
Mm.
Oh, yes, there is. Oh, perfect. I will link. There's a tag dedicated to this year's World Juniors. Oh, way
No.
to go. Way to go, site managers. I don't know who it was. Anyways, but um, where you can go ahead and read all of the roster previews that we've written for this tournament. Um, and of course, I will be giving credit to each of our wonderful writers who worked on these. So starting with the USA, who was written by the lovely and very talented Katrina Liu. Um, the USA, reigning champs. They won last year. Um, and they have quite a few notable returners who
Mm.
played last year, um, including including two goalies in Trey Augustine, who is a prospect of the Detroit Red Wings and currently plays for Michigan State University, and is also as well um, Sam Hildebrandt, who plays for the Barrie Colts and is 2025 draft eligible. It's always fun when there's goalies in this tournament because I always love it when there is draft eligible players in this tournament. Because and now as we are older than all of the players playing in this tournament, it is fun because it is an opportunity for maybe those who are unable to keep up with the goings on, especially for, the Canadian roster and also as well the US roster as well. Just like it's hard to keep track of like the entirety of the CHL.
Mm.
It's very difficult, and I was realizing that in doing research for a couple of pieces recently because there's a lot going on all of the time. But it is a good opportunity to see these stars, these young stars or young draft hopefuls in this tournament. It is always fun. But yes, Sam Hildebrand. Fun fact, what fun fact do I have about any of these returnees? I do have a fun fact about Sam Hildebrand. Um, I saw him in my campus bar. I told you about this.
Yeah.
So I was out with Simon, my boyfriend, at the campus bar, at like the bar slash restaurant that is kind of like the student bar slash restaurant at the University of Ottawa. If you are at all familiar with the University of Ottawa, you know exactly which bar slash restaurant I'm talking about. It's very popular, whatever. And we were in there, and it was like Friday night, and it wasn't too busy. We were just there for dinner because that's our like date night thing. Is we go for dinner there, and then we come back to my apartment and we watch a movie or a hockey game, depending on what time of year it is. If it's in the hockey season, it's usually we're watching a hockey game. And they have it's like two levels, but they're like not two levels, but there's just like a raised portion that's like
Mm.
more tables and stuff. And usually they have that closed during the week because it doesn't get too busy. And there was people there. I was like, oh, there's a vet. And then they all come walking out, and I'm like, that's a hockey team. Because there's like 20 of them. There's like 25 of them. And they all look like hockey players. So I like immediately turn to Simon and I go, that is a hockey team. And I'm like trying to figure out which hockey team it is. And then I see
Mm.
their coach walk by, and he's got like the Barry Coates logo on his jacket. And I'm like, oh, this is the
Like,
Barry
oh,
Colts. So
what
I
an
saw
on
a
you?
couple of the guys who were playing in the tournament and like they were there for dinner because they were playing the Ottawa 67s the next night. But yeah, I was like, oh, okay,
Sure.
sure. Like it's one of those things where it's like I'm like, all right. I mean, it's like when you live in Ottawa, like these sort of things just like happen,
Mm.
you know. It's like seeing Brady Kachuk at, you know, your favorite Irish pub. It hasn't happened to me yet, but I am afraid of that every time I go in there.
Mm. No, you're very real for that. That's some scary shit.
Or knowing that like Matthew Joseph had his like goodbye Ottawa party at like a pretty popular bar for students.
Hmm.
It was like one of those things where you're like, oh.
Like, I could very much just bump into you. Ah.
Yeah. And it's like that's what happens when you like yes, but also it's like I don't know. Ottawa still just has like that feel where it's like a small town, but it's a city that feels like a small town. Anyways, enough about Ottawa. We're here to talk about World Juniors. Tangent aside, a couple of other notable returners also as well. Ryan Leonard, um, who scored sealed the deal for the gold medal for the U.S. last year in the tournament in the gold medal game against Sweden. Um, and as well Gay Pro. Uh, there is there is we can talk about who is not coming back. There's not a lot of players who are signed to um, NHL teams and playing with
Mm.
NHL teams who were released to participate in World Juniors.
Yeah.
Um, Last year we had Matthew Poitras, who was released by the Boston Bruins to then play with Team Canada. Uh, and sometimes it happens, but this year it didn't really happen. There wasn't a lot of those guys. there's still quite a few newer names to be newer names here as well for Team USA. With Cole Iserman, I think is kind of one of those big names that really stands out. He fell, if you remember at the draft, he fell quite a bit
Mm.
from where he was expected to go due to like, and I want to take this moment to talk about Cole Iserman just in the way of the fact that like he was described as I randomly tuned in on TSN to like a U18 Worlds game and it was like USA and like I think it was USA and like Slovakia and I was like whatever I'll watch this and I will say immediately I was like who is this kid number 34 by the way I wonder why he wears that.
Mm. I wonder.
I wonder why. Maybe another fellow American who is really good at scoring goals and plays for played for Team USA at World Juniors once upon a time.
Hmm.
Not to throw any names out there, but
Yeah, I wonder who.
he immediately was one of those players that who I like noticed and was like, oh wow, he's really good. And I then had to look up who was number 34 on Team USA for this tournament because like I didn't know. And that's kind of and this was before the draft as well. So that was like my introduction, my introduction to him as a player. And I'm really excited to see how he thrives in this sort of format. I mean, sometimes the play of players does not always directly translate from like what you think what they could be in the NHL to how they do in the World
Mm.
Juniors. Sometimes there's guys who perform really really well in the World Juniors or and then don't quite perform as well in the NHL or are just given a specific label for Cole Iserman. It was selfish in his play style but then
Mm.
they sort of that works to their advantage and because one thing about World Juniors is like it is a short tournament. You're only at most playing 7 games,
Yeah.
which is not that many games.
No.
And so there's not a lot of time to develop chemistry with your line mates or, with your power play units or among your penalty kills. So oftentimes you'll see defensive pairs kind of matched up or lines built in very traditional ways or ways where
Mm.
there may be a chance of familiarity between players, whether that be through where they if they play at the same school or for the same major junior team or for they're drafted by the same NHL team, so they've attended training camps together. You often see that depending on the style of the coaching. But I think for a player like Cole Iserman, and not to focus on him, I mean a player like him that really can create their own chances will definitely thrive in this sort of tournament environment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just a couple other there's also as well a couple of other names that kind of I recognize. Cole Hudson, who is the brother of Lane Hudson, who is currently playing from what I've heard phenomenally uh, for the Montreal Canadiens.
Mm.
And um, I think also who a lot of people are going to be watching in terms of those who are maybe looking forward to the draft. Now, this again isn't always kind of where you see finalized draft rankings emerge. It is just a platform to spotlight said top draft prospects if they are
Mm.
named to rosters. And that is James Haggins, who plays for Boston College as a forward. And he is right now still projected to go first overall in the draft. To what team that may be, we will never we don't know yet. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, so uh, but
Fun.
we will see how he does. There's a couple also as well when we start talking about Team Canada. There's a couple of other guys that are kind of eyeing for that same first overall spot in the draft
Mm.
as well. Um, so we will see how it goes. Now, um, thank you again to Katrina for writing this article. It very
Ah.
well. She does such a great job with her work.
Mm.
Um, And there is some question marks for Team USA as well. One of them is just like it kind of, not to say it's a like a trial by fire, but it is kind of a test for James Higgins, I guess, as one of the few draft eligible players on this roster, but also just about the fact of like he is expected to go first overall. And so, not to say this will be the end all be all of his draft ranking, but it is very much a way for a lot of eyes on him. And
Mm.
not to say that he doesn't have a lot of eyes on him, in the NCAA, but this is it's a global tournament. It's a little bit more of a broader, and will be going like directly face to face, head to head with um other players, especially on Team Canada, and we'll talk about that game. New Year's Eve USA Canada game is always a highlight, and it's always a headline matchup for sure in this tournament. But he will have the opportunity to go up against other high ranking, top 5 draft prospects that are on Team Canada or also on other teams in this tournament. Um, so we'll see how it goes. There's some questions about a lack of depth with this team, but we will see how it goes. Um,
Yeah.
there will, but yeah. So USA has some big chances, not big chances, but some big shoes to fill and some big expectations to live up to as the reigning championships. They've never won back to back in this tournament, gold medals. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Who knows? So next up for us is Finland. Uh, and for Finland, let's, sorry, I have to pull up. I thought I had all my tabs open. I do not. Um, Finland is a team, they performed really well last year, coming fourth, and will take
Mm.
their first game against, their first game will be against Canada. Um, so scrolling through, there's quite a couple of NHL prospects here. The team and some maybe recognizable names for those who are a little bit, paying attention to the OHL. One of them being Kasper Halttunen, who is a prospect for the San Jose Sharks. He's a forward. He also currently plays in the OHL with the London Knights, because it's all about the London Knights. I think
All
more
about the
so,
London Knights,
more
baby.
so than it always is about the Toronto Maple Leafs. It is more so about the London Knights.
Oh yeah.
And so he will definitely is always a fun player to watch. Watching him, I've seen London play in person this year, but also just watching some of London's games and their highlights and things like that. Um, another fun name out there is the Dallas Stars prospect Emil Hemming, who plays for Barrie Colts. He's an 18-year-old, and it is his second World Juniors. So he played last year in the World Juniors as a 17-year-old. And I think I do want to highlight, like, making a World Juniors roster for these bigger countries like the USA, like Canada, like Finland, like Sweden, as a 17-year-old is a huge accomplishment, because traditionally the World Juniors has always been seen as a 19-year-old tournament, and that's something kind of one of, like, not stress, but like that's one of the things that always gets brought up when you look at rosters is when a player makes this tournament uh, as a 17-year-old, it is a big deal. In net uh they have Seattle Kraken's prospect Kim Saarinen, as well as Noah Valley and Petteri Rippinen. They're all fairly tall for 18-year-olds.
Oh boy.
All of these goalies are above 6 foot. with Saarinen being 6'4". Oh, jeez. Sorry. That's so tall.
So tall.
Um,
They've definitely had their Weetabix.
yeah.
6 foot. They're children.
Oh, yeah. Another forward I want to highlight as well is another is Jesse Nurmi, who also plays for the London Knights.
Oh my
And was drafted by the New York Islanders. And they've also as well already the New York Islanders have also already signed him to his ELC, which he is a 4th-round pick, drafted 113th overall. Kind of, means that they trust him.
Mm.
He's 19, 6 foot, 128, and this year with the London Knights, he's put up 16 points in 28 games, and will definitely, look to. He didn't have a great tournament last year, only putting up 2 assists in 6 games, but has definitely improved internationally for Team Finland this season in the 5 games that he's played at various tournaments for Finland. I think the goal for Finland is last year at the tournament they had uh, last year, if I'm remembering correctly, is they had a very strong performance, finishing 4th. But they will be looking to sorry, they will be I'm trying to they will be looking to definitely win against Sweden again. That's always a big matchup for the two countries.
Mm.
They definitely as much as, Canada USA is a huge rivalry. If we want to talk about more hockey rivalries, you always have to look at Sweden and Finland.
Oh yeah.
Just watch the reaction by go back. This is requiring you to go back, is to watch the reaction to Kasperi Kapanen's Leaf legend. Kasperi Kapanen.
He's a legend.
Sorry. Kasperi Kapanen at the World Juniors in 2016 when he in Helsinki. Also as well, this game was in when the tournament was in Finland, it was in Helsinki. Finland won and beat Sweden in the quarterfinals. Just go watch Kasperi Kapanen, the reaction to that goal is huge. But yeah, just yeah, it means so much for both of these countries to beat each other, and that's definitely something that Finland will be eyeing to do again against each other for sure. They will they face each other. That matchup actually as well is something that won't be happening until and that will be something that if both teams make it to um, the playoff rounds, because they are different groups. So keep an eye out. I mean,
could be fun.
Could be fun. I will say Group A, has, and that's the same for both of these groups, is that they each have a strong top 3 that you're like, okay, yeah. And then there's the
others.
Then there's the other. I feel so bad saying the others, but yes, then there's the others.
I mean that in a nice way, just they're there.
Yeah.
They're playing.
Yes, and it's a huge deal when you get to make it to the top division. For those who also don't know, it's World Juniors. There are different divisions. There's 3 different divisions, and there's 3 different tournaments. And it's always a big deal when a country gets to move up a division.
It's exciting.
It is very exciting. So there's the top division, and then there's Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. Would you like to know where Great Britain is? Division 2?
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry. You're gonna bring up that world's goal, aren't you, again?
look, you know what? I come out here. It's 1:45 in the morning on Christmas Day. I'm recording this from out of the kindness of my heart and the love I have for you in this podcast. And this is what you do to me.
Love you.
You're horrible.
No, I'm
You're
not.
so mean to me.
Why would you say such lies?
You know what? We still scored. We scored a goal.
Yeah, it's moving on to Group A. We're talking about Canada. Canada, now this one, Canada, we're going based off of the article written by myself and also as well the wonderful Casey. This is like, there's a greater power to like international hockey kind of overrides a lot of NHL rivalries when you have a Leafs fan and an Oilers fan working on an article together.
Through the power of friendship.
The power of friendship and Team Canada. But yes, also this is where I get to talk a lot about the narratives, because the last time that World Juniors were hosted in Ottawa was 2009. You know what happened in 2009 besides Sidney Crosby winning a Stanley Cup?
Please tell me, Emma, what happened in 2009?
Team Canada won World Juniors on home ice. And they got the
We're gonna do it.
yeah. But yes, if we wanted, I had the opportunity also as well to see this team like in person. They were having a picture day at Parliament Hill, and I was finished my final early that day, and so I went, and I was like, and I very much had a moment where they showed up where I was like, I am older than all of them, and they are all taller than me. Even
That's how it
5'9",
was. That's
even
what it feels
5'9",
when I
Luca
come home.
Pinelli.
Oh, that's how it feels when I come home from uni and my sister stood there and she's like,
She's very tall.
I think she's 6 foot now.
She is very tall, I will say.
Do you know how awful it was for me the other day at our family Christmas that we had like early, where she stood me, her in the middle, and then my grandma at the other side. And this is the grandma you haven't met, who is 5'2" at a push. Do you know how evil that was of her to just stand there and just be like, oh, she pats me on the head. My younger sister pats me on the head.
Well,
It's
if we want to talk about some players that I definitely think you should keep your eye on, one of them is obviously, of course, Oliver Bonk, returnee to the tournament this year. Defenseman, plays for, say it with me now, the London Knights, and is a Philadelphia Flyers prospect because Danny Briere loves collecting guys with silly little names.
He does.
But he definitely will be looking to make an impact. Also, as well, the goal that eliminated Canada from the tournament last year in a game against Czechia bounced off of Oliver Bonk's shin to no fault of his own. But sometimes you just get the bad bounces. So he will definitely be looking to flip the script and redeem and also just sort of erase the bad memories associated with the World Juniors.
Forget everything.
Yeah. So we'll definitely like to see him. Also as well, Jet Luchenko, who plays for the Guelph Storm. He is he is one of the few players. There's not a lot of players in this lineup with NHL experience. Jet Luchenko has he has a couple of games with the Philadelphia Flyers that he played
Mm.
at the start of the season. So he's one of the few guys with pro hockey experience. There's not a lot of them on this roster. So definitely
Mm.
he's one of them. Um, when we want to talk about goaltenders, we have Los Angeles Kings prospect Carter George, who currently plays with the Owen Sound Attack in the OHL. And he also, as well, is the proud owner of scoring a goalie goal, the first in Owen Sound Attack history.
Got the goal.
Yeah. Um, and I think that's important. I think that's very important. I don't know if you'll
Oh,
have the
yeah.
chance to do that in this tournament, but I do think it's important.
If he's done it before, he can do it again. Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Um, another if we want to highlight some things, Andrew Gibson, I think, should just be highlighted, and not to take away with his on ice play, but he should be highlighted because I've never seen World Juniors coverage talk about a guy's mustache so much as I have in the past week in all of the media coverage on TSN and all the broadcasts about the pre-tournament games that Canada's played, where I didn't realize that like these kids felt so like passionately to talk about a teammate's mustache. Mark Masters was asking all the questions
Oh,
about
wonder.
Andrew Gibson's mustache. Uh,
Um,
he, he is a defenseman drafted by the Nashville Predators, um, and eh, and also as well, I should add, important fact, I not important, but just something I've learned. This kid's stick is a 102 flex, which Marcy is nodding her head like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that means. 102 for ref 102 is like very, very stiff.
mm,
It's like Mr. Big Slapshot and very large man Jason Robertson flex.
uh,
Still means nothing to you, but I'm
yeah.
sure it
Look,
means
I
something to
tried.
someone where I don't want to call this kid a freak of the podcast, but it's one of those things where I'm like, this kid, like, I'm obsessed with him in the way of just like, you're so interesting. Everything about you intrigues me.
Yeah.
Um, Also, as well, there's another Saskatoon Blades player wearing the letter this year, like there was last year with Fraser Minton getting the C. Is Tanner Molendijk. These two we perhaps may see them as a pairing, as they both have um played as a defensive pair during Nashville's rookie and training camps. So we may see them together during this tournament. Like I said, it is really common, and you kind of see that is a thought process when uh you know coaching staff and general managers whatever go about selecting the rosters is trying to try and you know put themselves in a position where there's
Mm,
already chemistry potentially between certain players or especially defensive pairs and that sort of thing.
yeah.
So they're familiar with each other on the ice. And so, we potentially could see Gibson and Molendijk play on the same pair this tournament. I also want to highlight another one of our returnees, Carson Rakoff, um, who is currently with the Kitchener Rangers after being traded from the Brampton Steelheads, and is a Seattle Kraken prospect. Um, we'll see him more in a depth role, but he definitely does provide some strong depth to the bottom six of Canada's lineup. Also as well, um, we have a local kid. This is always fun. Like Oliver Bonk is a local guy, with his dad being uh former Ottawa center Radek Bonk. I'm telling you, look, I have an agenda about getting Oliver Bonk to play for the Ottawa Senators.
So real.
This kid longs to be an Ottawa Senator. But Carson Rakoff also he's from Canada, which is basically Ottawa. And if anyone wants to argue with me, where is the Canadian Tire Center located? Thank you. That's all I will be taking no
Thank
further
you and good
question.
night.
Thank you. Good night. I will be taking no further questions at this time. Um, it may be listed as Canada. It is still Ottawa. He is a local kid, and that's always exciting to get to play essentially very much in front of a hometown crowd
Mm.
at World Juniors, especially, when that hometown crowd is Canada. I mean, like, Halifax wasn't that long ago. I think about that Halifax tournament all the time, mostly because Connor Bedard was insane. And speaking of Connor Bedard, you're gonna love this transition. We
Speaking
have
of,
another former Regina Pat. I say former because he was, in true CHL fashion, named captain and then subsequently traded to another team. This happens more often than you think.
yeah.
It happens all the time. And it sucks when kids get traded, yes, but also it is like my favorite thing that happens in the CHL because it like
Mm.
doesn't happen anywhere else. It is purely like a CHL thing where like you'll see captains get traded all the time. Is
Mm.
Tanner Howe, who is a Pittsburgh Penguins prospect, drafted 46 overall in 2024. Um, he due to his late birthday, he is a point per game across for this on the season for but combined between the Calgary Hitmen, who he plays for now in the WHL, and the Regina Pats. But Howe is a late birthday, so he is 19 in his first and only time he is eligible to play in World Juniors. And that kind of is a lot of things. We do have a lot of 19-year-olds who are in their first World Juniors because they are late birthdays and get
Mm.
caught out by the late birthday thing. And as a fellow late birthday haver, I can relate. I understand. I am with you. Um, but yes, another forward that I want to highlight as well is, of course, Toronto Maple Leafs prospect, Easton Cowan.
Yeah.
Easton Cowan is on the hottest streak he could ever have before he then was injured, then came back and like didn't miss a beat at all.
He's just insane.
Um, uh, he um, surpassed unofficially um, because in order for the record to be recognized by the OHL, it has to be during the course of one singular season and not over the course of multiple seasons, which I think is really dumb.
Boo.
Um, the active OHL point streak of 56 games, surpassing the number achieved by fellow Leaf forward Doug Gilmour. Um, he did not participate in any of the scrimmage action in the roster camp for Team Canada due to just precaution due to injury. Um,
Mm.
but he did, however, play in the pre-tourney games for Canada and scored 4 goals
On fire.
because yeah, that's just what Easton Cowan does, and I think he's definitely looking to make a bigger impact than he did last
Mm.
year at the tournament. And I think it's one of those things where I don't think last year he was utilized to his fullest potential. He was often
No.
bogged down with third, fourth line minutes and wasn't getting a lot of time on special teams. But I think this year, especially, at least based on the lineups I've seen from pre-tourney games, he will definitely be an absolute star.
I
I
think so.
also want to say that um, he did receive some well wishes because I'm sure this will be all the talk. Is he received some well wishes from Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. and fellow Team Canada teammate and Leafs prospect Fraser Minten. Can we call Fraser Minten a prospect still? Or is he like rookie prospect? Fellow Leaf. Anyways, Fraser Minten.
Oh,
Prior to the tournament, my favorite thing was Easton Cowan chirping Austin Matthews about the number of goals that Matthews achieved in the Canadian Tire Center on his debut. I was like, why? I knew he probably was like not like that was maybe not the best word. Like I know he whatever, but I'm like thinking of the fact that he used chirping as that word where I'm like, why are you chirping Austin Matthews for that?
just like, dude.
I was laughing so hard at that specific word choice because it means absolutely nothing, and I don't want to read like too deep into like what he actually meant. But I just love where it's like, okay, so Austin Matthews wishes you good luck, and your first response is to, in your words, chirp him for scoring 4 goals in the entire center.
Oh, it's just.
Yeah. Um,
Oh, it
I
does have
also
me
want
giggle.
to highlight another player here who has some NHL experience, if you count one as NHL experience, one game, and that is Bradley Nadeau, who currently is playing for the Carolina Hurricanes AHL affiliate, the Chicago Wolves, and has put up impressive numbers in the AHL with 15 points in 22 games at 19, and he comes from the NCAA. He is the sole NCAA representative on Team Canada. Every other guy has come from the CHL.
Mm,
Fun fact.
that's a fun
He
fact.
played for the University of Maine. So shout out Bry, a
Yeah.
writer at Offside who big University of Maine gal. Um, and I think if you were to, he only recently within the last season came across, I think, a lot of people's radars as a potential young star. Primarily, I think maybe because he, you know, went the route of the NCAA. So those guys tend to not in a negative way, but it's just they're not playing the highest level of junior hockey that you can play in Canada. So when people tend to start noticing them, unless they're, projected to go first overall,
Mm.
is once they hit the NCAA or beyond, once they go pro. So yeah. I also want to highlight as well Luca Pinelli, only because he is the only guy who has familiarity with Canada's head coach, Dave Cameron, as Dave Cameron is Luca Pinelli's coach in juniors. Pinelli plays for the Ottawa 67s. So he also is familiar with the city of Ottawa and familiar with the environment. He's one of the few guys on all of these rosters who's had a chance to play in the Canadian Tire Center and play a game there. The Ottawa 67s had a game there this year as part of their like school day game where they invited a bunch of schools to come and watch the team at the Canadian Tire Center. Um, so yeah, he also is the smallest forward on Canada's roster at 5'9", which I think surprised a lot of people that he was selected over similarly sized Denver Barkey of the London Knights.
Mm.
Um, but I do know that Luca Pinelli is not afraid to be physical despite his size, as he was right in the middle of the teddy. I'm sure you've seen this video of the teddy bear
Oh
toss
yeah.
brawl.
Oh yeah.
He was right in the middle of it. You can go look at the video. Number 20 is also the captain for the Ottawa 67s as well. Um, and also as well, we want to talk about the rest of the leadership group for Team Canada, one of which is Callum Ritchie wearing the other A. He has NHL experience with the Colorado Avalanche. He played 7 games this season, and before he was sent back to the OHL, where he plays for the Oshawa Generals, where he's put up 34 points in 18 games and has an
Oh,
NHL goal to his name. Yeah,
look at him go.
look at him go. Another one as well is another returnee to the tournament is Braden Yeager. He is the captain for Team Canada, getting the C. He started his season somewhat in the spotlight when he was traded from the Pittsburgh Penguins to the Winnipeg Jets for the signing rights of Rutger McGroarty. It was all the buzz at the start of the season. He also was traded in the WHL as well. He was traded. He was traded in twofold. He was traded from the Moose Jaw Warriors, where he went to the Memorial Cup with them last season, to the Lethbridge Hurricanes. He's put up 34 points in 23 games in the WHL already. And now we get to talk about the 2025/6 draft prospects.
Woohoo!
We have it's the fact that we have 2025 and 2026. This is the most amount of draft prospects that Canada has taken to this tournament since 2020. They took 5 that year as well. One of the draft prospects is 17-year-old Jack Vankovic, who is a goalie playing in the OHL with the Brampton Steelheads. Like I said, it's a 19-year-old tournament, but when a 17-year-old is a is a name to a roster, it's a big deal, but especially when it's a goaltender as well. I think that's means something as well. He will probably Carter George is expected to be the main starter for Canada, but Vankovic and Bjornsson, who is a Philadelphia Flyers prospect, will share the backup duties. Another drafted roster is Matthew Schaefer, 2007 born, has experience winning gold for Team Canada at both the U18 Worlds and the Hlinka Gretzky Cup. And this season with the Erie Otters, he has scored 22 points in 17 games in the OHL. And here's where we talk about the guy who is going to challenge Team USA's James Higgins for the title of first overall. Is Porter Martone. He plays for the Brampton Steelheads. Did I accidentally say Mississauga earlier? That's on me. They moved this year, and I'm still like they were my local OHL team growing up. In terms of, I just lived in the west end of Toronto, so it was like they were closer than the Oshawa Generals. But yeah, so I'm still used to calling them the Mississauga Steelheads, but they're Brampton Steelheads now. They're in Brampton. But so it will be interesting to see how these two face off against each other as well. And to talk about our 2026 NHL draft pick, Gavin McKenna, he is the cousin of Connor Bedard. Because yeah, of course, sure. He is assumed to be going first overall, also as well. He plays for the Medicine Hat Tigers in the WHL and has 60 points in just 30 games and leads the WHL in both points and assists, where he has 41 assists. So we will definitely be seeing him hoping to make an impact this year at the World Juniors. Holy crap. Sorry, some of these I am reading these stats out for the first time, and I'm just like, oh my god. But yeah, Canada will be looking to definitely redeem themselves after a quarterfinals loss to Czechia last year, and definitely will be looking to bring back the World Juniors of old with the same sort of success that the team 15 years ago had in 2009. With John Tavares' hat trick against Team USA on New Year's Eve, a matchup that we will see again this year, and that's always a big matchup, and it's always a really exciting one, and we don't always get it depending on how the seeding works, but we get it this year, and it will be really exciting to see history hopefully repeat itself, literally, in all aspects. Easton Cowan hat trick.
He's gonna do it.
He already did it during the pre-tourney games.
Yeah, he can do it again.
And then also as well, for those, this is a moment that's always, kind of solidified with the 2009 World Juniors, is Jordan Eberle's hat trick against Team Russia in the semifinals that included the OT winner to send Canada to gold medal game. And then they had a really dominant win over Sweden in the gold medal game. But Canada is looking strong. They've won all 3 of their pre-tournament games. And so we will see how it goes. They have a strong group of with a lot of depth scoring, also as well a lot of physicality. So we will see
Mm,
how it goes.
we
Uh,
will.
moving down because we got a really quick run through a couple of these. Latvia, um, will I'm trying to remember if they've even named because I think countries. Sorry, I should have opened more tabs. Um, that's on me. Um, because I do not I for them for Latvia though their um their goal is to not be relegated.
Mm.
And as we get through a couple more of these teams, that is also their goal. There is a shared goal of don't get relegated. Uh, and it is, and that is the case for Latvia. Um, I don't even, I'm trying to find, this is on me, but yeah, there's 9 returnees and 2 draft prospects um, on their World Junior roster.
Mm.
Um, sorry, my computer's like totally bugging out.
Felt that.
Um, but yeah. Um, they they have 16 that are based in North America. Um, and they will definitely be kind not they have quite a few they have quite a few older players as well as some '08 borns. Oh jeez. They have a good mix of players who are returning as well as players who are new to the tournament as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch Latvia. They're always just
Yeah.
a fun team to watch.
Yeah, it was always fun because you don't really get to see, some international players as well.
Mm.
There's 2 draftees on Team Latvia. Um, a defenseman, Daryl Iljankis, who was drafted by the Anaheim Ducks, and 6'6" winger, Eric Smatiko, who is a prospect of the Washington Capitals and the captain of the QMJHL St. John Sea Dogs.
Woo.
Oh, sorry. I just, whoa. 6'6" winger. So definitely, keep your eyes out there. All of their goaltenders um are older players as well. So that definitely could be a strength for them as players who just have more experience in net, for sure. So we will see how they handle themselves. Um, they play their first game on the 27th against Canada at 7:30 Eastern. So it may be a rough start for them. I think their most crucial matchup will be against Germany on December 30th, as
Mm.
that is another team who they will be trying to that will be a team that they're going to be trying to win against to avoid having to play a game for relegation.
Yeah.
Um, moving on to Germany, speak of which, we'll talk about Germany. We are going back to an offside provided preview, written by the wonderful Sarah Manahan. Um, they avoided relegation last year um, by winning against Norway in the relegation game. Um, and some names to watch is Norwin Penocha, who is a Buffalo Sabres prospect, is expected to be a strong part of the German blue line. And they have a ton of young talent in also as well in on their blue line. One of which is Rio Kaiser, who is a 6'7" with 6'7". Oh my God.
Oh boy.
And has already played some games internationally representing Germany. As well. There's only the Pinocha, the Buffalo Sabres prospect is the only NHL drafted player, and he plays for the Green Bay Gamblers of the USHL. But we could potentially see we could definitely see some potential 2025 draft picks for Germany as well. One of which is Julius Sumpf, who has 37 points in 28 games for the Moncton Wildcats in the QMJHL, as well as David Lewandowski, who plays for the Saskatoon Blades in the WHL, as well as Carlos Handel of the QMJHL's Halifax Mooseheads. So we will see how they do in the World Juniors.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Exciting.
They have a really strong blue line and some potential in net, but I think for them and for Germany, their big issue potentially could be the lack of offensive depth. And that is, definitely something that I believe we even touched on last year with this team as well, is just they don't have quite the same amount of top tier forwards that other countries may have.
Yeah.
But we will see. They play their first game on Boxing Day against USA at 2:30. So, yeah. Moving on to Group B.
Group B.
Sweden.
Sweden.
Is definitely a team that will be looking to get some revenge after also as well, I should say, this preview was written by the wonderful Morgan Page. Thank you again. I want to shout out all of the wonderful team of writers, because all of these previews are fantastic and really, really great. And they did all this work over the holidays, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they've Sweden last year they lost in the gold medal game to the US, and will be looking to avenge that and play better. They have 9 returning players and 1 player who is eligible for the 2025 draft, and 6 of them are signed to entry-level NHL contracts. One I've said is one I've said prospects that definitely will be one to watch is Felix Unger-Sorum, who currently is playing this season in the AHL with the Chicago Wolves. And was close to making the Hurricanes opening night roster at training camp. In 22 games, he has 2 goals, 5 assists in the AHL, and he also has been on he was not just on last year's World Juniors team for Sweden, but also on the 2024 World Championship Sweden team at Worlds last year, and was the youngest player on the team at just 18. Another name that I want to point out is the captain for this year team, and I think we talked about him last year, mostly just because I thought his name was cool as hell, and that is Axel Sandin Palika.
What a name.
Do you remember we talked about Axel? Because we were like, look at this kid's name is the best. But he was drafted by the Detroit Red Wings in 2023, 17th overall, and he signed his ELC with Detroit in May of last year, and is on loan to Skelta AIK in the Swedish Hockey League this season, where in 25 games he's played as a defenseman. He has put up 8 goals and 14 assists. And this kid always will be one of those kids to watch for me. I do remember him last year in the tournament being really effective for Sweden on their blue line. So definitely keep an eye out for him. Also as well, I just think any kid with a hyphenated name on the back of their jersey, that's cool.
Oh yeah.
And with a first name like Axel. Like how yeah. Another defenseman as well is Tom Willander, who is drafted by the Vancouver Canucks in 2023, 11th overall, and he currently plays for Boston University in the NCAA. In 16 games, he's put up 2 goals and 7 assists, and is also returning to the team this year. Tom Willander is a name that I hear a lot, actually. We have enough Canucks fans we have enough of like Canucks fan like in Offside, we have enough Canucks fans, people who have attended university in Boston, so that you hear, and that circle of people is big enough that you hear quite a bit about Tom Willander. And so I will be looking forward to watching him in the tournament again this year. Another forward is that is maybe one to keep an eye out is 2025 is the only player who is eligible for the 2025 entry draft is Victor Eklund. And if that last name sounds familiar to you, yes, he is the younger brother of San Jose Sharks first round pick William Eklund. Because I know you were wondering it as soon as I could see it on your face. As soon as I said his name, you were like, are there relation? Yes, there is. He's playing for Djurgårdens IF in the Hockey Allsvenskan. I totally absolutely butchered that, as usual.
It's not if it's yeah. Look, I am tired.
Do not put me in an IKEA and ask me to start reading the names of the pieces of furniture.
We need to do that.
I will disappoint my family and William Nylander.
Oh dear.
But in 24 games, he's put up 8 goals and 7 assists as an 18-year-old. Oh wait, anyways, I do recognize this hockey team because I'm 95% sure that this is, if I'm correct, Mika Zibanejad played for this team. I could be wrong though. It's Junkyard in football? Huh. Oh no, there's a football club and then there's also a hockey team.
Because that's helpful.
But they use the same logo.
Sure. Why not?
Oh, it's a club. Huh.
Interesting.
The more you know. I'm learning. I feel like one day I would love to do like a dig into like Swedish hockey leagues or just like European hockey leagues in general.
Yeah.
Because I'm so. I'm so interested because I'm learning so much. But yes, it is. I will say though, it is the same team that he does play for. Victor Eklund does play for the same Swedish hockey team that his brother played for. Fun fact: the more you know.
Love that.
There is quite a few that are coming from the same one. Oh, actually, another another one, another player that I feel like I should highlight is Anton Wahlberg, who was selected by the Buffalo Sabres in the second round, 39th overall, um, and is currently now playing for the Rochester Americans. He is a returnee to this tournament and in 24 games has scored 4 goals and 5 assists with the Americans. Have fun.
Indeed.
Yes. When it comes to goaltending, um, there is all three of their goaltenders are NHL drafted. Um, there's Marcus Gidloff, Melvin Strahl, and Melker Thalen. Um, Thalen is the sole netminder who is a returnee to this tournament, um, and was drafted over fifth in the fifth round, 134th overall by the Arizona Coyotes.
May they rest in peace.
Yeah. Sweden hasn't won a gold medal in the tournament since 2012, and and will and that was their first gold since 1981. We will see if this is the year that they do it. I hope not. Sorry, I'm trying not to be biased about Canada here when I talk about teams who are gold medal hopefuls. I'm so glad we got US out of the way.
Yeah. Which I think putting you and like it's impossible. You have to you just are biased towards Canada, and you know what? That's okay because you are Canadian.
Yeah.
It's like how I was so confident that in Team GB's abilities to beat you. We've got to go, and that's all. That's all I've got. I'm hanging on.
We will see if they get it done. Moving on, we kind of have to roll through these. We have Czechia, who eliminated Canada last year in the tournament. This preview was written by the lovely Avery Beaumont, our chief editing officer here at Offside News.
Love you,
I think that
Avery.
I think that's his official title.
Oh,
Um, but overall, there was a lot of recent international success for Czechia overall, including the at all levels of play, not just specifically the World Juniors. One of which is them winning Worlds last year at home. You know what? Good for David Kampf.
good for him.
He looks like he had a great time.
Oh, Dave.
And I think Czechia definitely will be looking to fill that underdog narrative that they've kind of been, not that they've not that they've maybe you don't want to be, but like they've kind of fallen into that sort of archetype of being the underdog in a lot of these tournaments. It ends up working out for them as well. So some of the forwards to make note of is Leafs prospect Miroslav Holenka, who currently is playing for the Edmonton Oil Kings in the WHL. Um, as well as Edward Saleh, who was drafted 20th overall by the Seattle Kraken in 2023, and currently plays for the Coachella Valley Firebirds in the AHL and has put up 4 goals and 9 assists in 23 games so far this season. And has been playing pretty well on a very good AHL team. I should add, Coachella Valley Firebirds are also as well quite talented. When it comes to the blue line for the for Czechia, there's Adam Juracek, who is a St. Louis Blues prospect, plays in the OHL for the Brantford Bulldogs, and also as well is the younger brother of now Minnesota Wild prospect David Juracek, who was traded from Columbus this year. He has missed quite a bit of time this season due to a lower body injury, but returned to his junior team this month with a bang and scored 2 goals in his first game back. And hopefully as well, he will will be maybe, I think there's nothing better than, coming back from injury, scoring 2 goals on your first game back, and then having a chance to really prove yourself on an international stage at the World Juniors. Also just proved that you're the better brother.
That is also something that
helped. Yeah. Another defenseman to keep an eye on is Jacob Dvorak. He is a prospect of the Los Angeles Kings and has spent this season playing in the AHL for the Ontario Reign. And so let's see how he goes. Definitely has done quite a bit of bouncing around as he transferred in the middle of last year from playing in Europe to the WHL and is now playing in the AHL. So there's a lot of bouncing around, but let's see how he does.
Yeah.
One of the goaltenders that I want to keep an eye on is their starting goaltender, which is Michael Hrabal, who currently plays for UMass Amherst in the NCAA and also as well is a draft prospect of the Utah Hockey Club. He is 6'7" and he wears glasses off the ice.
Oh my god.
You know how we are about players who wear glasses. This is a Brock Faber official fan club. But he also was the second goalie taken in the 2023 draft, which is a huge deal. I think, 38th overall is pretty big for a goalie, especially always I find that, goalies, they always get picked later, but I think being the second goalie chosen in a draft means you're a pretty good goalie.
Incredible.
He's playing for UMass, which I think anytime an international player is able to play in the NCAA is a huge accomplishment just because of the language. You need to have a stronger understanding of English to be able to play for a university and be a student athlete, in order to keep up with, the academic side of things that are required of being a student athlete. And has a .917 save percentage in 16 games. And wants to be a little bit more of an active goalie than kind of is what is expected of larger framed goaltenders. A little bit more movement in his crease than sometimes what you see from similarly sized netminders.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot of Czechia. They tend, and like a lot of these European teams, there's a lot of familiarity there, more so than USA and Canada, who have so many players to draw from and so many different player pools to draw from that you're almost relying on instant chemistry with those teams, whereas there's a lot of underlying deep chemistry with Team Czechia, where a lot of these guys have played and represented their country for many, many years at many different levels. Whereas you don't always see that with Team USA and Canada. except if you have a lot of, US National Development Program guys, which USA tends to sometimes have. And also as well, a lot of them are coming from the same NHL prospect pools as well. And, definitely we'll be looking to see if they can accomplish the same as their older counterparts, winning gold at Worlds this past year. And so they will have a fun go. It's always fun. I mean, I also have to say, I really do hope that that they do well, but also like not too well that they eliminate Canada again.
Yeah. They're allowed a little bit of joy, a little bit of happiness.
Yeah.
Moving
on down the group, we have Slovakia. And perfect timing for this one. As we were recording this, I have the document from Parker for Slovakia. Some players to keep a note that could be interesting to look at for Slovakia is some returnees. One of them is their sole returning goaltender, Samuel Urban, who played one game last year against Team USA, and currently plays for the Sioux City Musketeers in the USHL. There also as well is a couple of other draft prospects to keep an eye on. One of which is Miroslav Satan Jr., who is the son of Miroslav Satan, the NHL player, is 6'7", and was selected 212th overall by the Washington Capitals in 2024. He is new to the World Juniors, but currently plays again for the Sioux Falls Stampede in the USHL, and is the tallest player on Team Slovakia by far. Yeah. There's also as well the St. Louis Blues draft picks of Dalibor Dvorsky and Uri Penkarsik. And we will one of Dvorsky was named Team Slovakia for the was named captain of Team Slovakia prior to the tournament. So there are definitely some exciting names here to watch. There's a couple of draft prospects as well, including Luka Radiovovic, is in his second appearance on a World Juniors roster, which is always a huge thing. I think as well, when you're in your second World Juniors roster and you are a 2025 draft pick. So yeah, definitely a team to watch when it comes to World Juniors. We will see how they will go. Yeah, Slovakia. Moving down, we have Switzerland. They're once again another team with a weaker roster as well. And that just comes from being a smaller European.
Yeah.
A smaller team. But there is a couple of World Juniors, not World Juniors, sorry, a couple of NHL draft picks here, including one of their goaltenders, Christian Kirsch, who is drafted by the San Jose Sharks. And a name as well as Simon Meyer, who is making his second World Juniors appearance for Switzerland, where he played last year and was had 5 goals. Not sorry, in 5 games had 2 goals. So sorry. I'm even getting late for me. I'm like so sorry.
Yep.
Um but yeah, um we will they're definitely a team that, you can see that they might struggle against some higher matchups, some higher skill matchups. But
Mm.
yeah, there also as well is there's a set of twin brothers on this roster, I should add,
Aw.
and Raphael and Simon Meyer. Simon? I think it's Simon. Simon Meyer. Um, they are uh both 19 and both played and have both represented Switzerland before. And I think that's an ongoing trend, and I think that's something to talk about when it comes to these um some
Mm.
of these European countries, is that they tend to draw from a lot of the same player pools. So they have a lot of that, established connection, like we've said. And also, well, sometimes, they have um, twin brothers. You don't see that a lot on Team Canada or
Oh,
Team USA.
that's
Um,
fun.
yes. Their highest draft pick is defenseman Leon Mugli, and uh, selected 52nd overall by the Washington Capitals. He's playing in the Swiss National League this season after signing his NHL entry-level contract, and has a goal and 4 assists in 21 games this season. Um, but yeah,
Oh.
so moving on to our final team is Team Kazakhstan, who was promoted to the tournament. Um, for Kazakhstan, it is the first time that they will be um, that they will be in World Juniors um, since 2020. So these um, none of these players obviously have played in the World Juniors at the top division before,
Mm.
because, well, duh.
Yeah. I'm excited to watch them.
Yeah, I am as well. They are obviously looking to avoid relegation, and they only have one NHL draft prospect, NHL draftee on their roster, and that is goaltender Vladimir Nikitin, who was drafted by the Ottawa Senators. Um, so definitely you know, this team is fairly older. There's only two 07 borns. Um, so definitely look to keep that in mind, as they are a team with a fair bit more experience in terms of just overall, um, you know, playing
Mm.
comes of just life experience, I guess, also as
Yeah.
well. They are mostly a team made up of 19-year-olds, and are fairly they have a couple of standouts when it comes to size, but are a fairly average size team in terms of height as well. Like, they have a couple of guys who are 6'4". Their goalies are taller, obviously, but most of their guys sit around 6 foot, 5'11", 6'1".
Mm.
Um, but yeah, definitely. Yeah. Kazakhstan. I don't know.
Go
They're
Kazakhstan.
just
I'm rooting
go
for them.
Kazakhstan. Yeah, I am as well. They're looking to avoid again um relegation. So we will see that definitely is their goal this tournament. So a lot of different countries come into this tournament with different goals. Some teams it is to win gold and is to win the tournament. Other teams it is just to avoid getting relegated down to the lower
Mm.
division. So we will see how it goes. Again, all of the action starts on Boxing Day. Um, and we are looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm excited. That's all the teams. We've done it.
Yay.
Yay. With that being said, thank you
It got me
guys.
the yawn.
Yeah. We again, I will be leaving a link to all of the roster previews that I mentioned in this episode that are all available at offsidenewsco.com. You can also follow Offside News on all social platforms at Offside News Co. You can follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find the show wherever you get your podcasts. And you can follow the show on Twitter at From the Fourth Line. That's fourth with the number 4TH. Or you can follow Marcie and I, because we're really funny, on Twitter at 60 Leafs at Pair B1 for myself. Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been a bonus episode. We will be back next Monday.
Ooh.
And in the meantime, happy holidays.
Yeah. I know I said go Leafs go, but
I know, me too, but I was like, well, there's a couple of Leaf prospects in there, but yeah. Thank you guys.
bye.
All right, bye bye.